anything from Amazon.com before? No? I'm just kidding. Of course you have. Well, today we're going to talk about a few of the strangest foods that you can order off Amazon.com. Now, a lot of these foods are pretty crazy and hard to believe, but I promise you, none of this is tripe, except for haggis, which is, of course, quite literally tripe. Anyway, behind every one of those backpack orders and batteries and whatnot lies a creepier line of food just waiting for you to order. So before we dive into that, I'm just going to go over a few things that we're going to talk about. One of them is Amazon. How did it go from books to bugs? Number two, we're going to introduce 3 of my favorites that I picked out of the list of weird things. I personally have tried 2 out of the 3. And yeah, I'll leave that at that. So and then after that, we're going to talk about who eats this stuff. Is it nutritious? I mean, really, who eats this? But we'll talk about that as well. So let's just dive right into it with Amazon.com. I am fortunate enough to be old enough to remember when Amazon.com was just a very humble book peddler online. And that was pretty much it. They were the book, they were the Kindle. But over the years, in 2006, they introduced the food pantry, which really was on the back of it. It wasn't public. They kind of snuck that in there to kind of test it out. And of course, we all know where that went. It exploded. And now we have reached every part of the globe, opening up a huge, huge market. The variety of foods that are becoming available are just by the thousands and thousands. And the more food that's available, the more we're discovering from different countries, insects, different types of meats and animal parts that we may have never thought about before, especially in the Western culture. So let's get right into that. The 3 things that I chose, first off, are deep fried crickets. Now, don't jump for joy on this one. Oh, wow, I just made a pun. But while commercially farmed crickets are perfectly safe to eat, raw wild crickets can be very unpleasant and even poisonous because you don't know what their diet is, you don't know what they're eating. This is why fried crickets are really expensive, like $18 for, I think, a half an ounce on Amazon. But they put a lot of effort into making sure it's very exceptionally high quality. These crickets are actually really good for you. I can't get past the look of them. So there's a lot of other options that you can do. One of the things is that you can have flour made with it crushed in there. So it's kind of a way to introduce you to eating insects. But let's move on to number 2, which is another one of my favorites. And I have personally had this many times. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I have. Rocky Mountain oysters. Are you familiar with it? They don't taste like oysters, and they're definitely not beef, but they are cow balls, otherwise known as cowboy caviar or swinging meat, whatever. Again, a bunch of old settlers were sitting around the fire, and they're like, hey, we can't waste any of this buffalo here. Let's eat the meat, right? So that's how that came about. It's pretty expensive. A 10-pound bag on Amazon.com, which is sliced and breaded for you already, because that's how you like to eat it, fried, breaded. It's about $218. That's kind of pricey, but you know, I gotta be honest with you. It's got a very gamey taste to it. It's basically a spiced up piece of rubber. So you might want to skip that one. I don't know. So lastly, I wanted to tell you was my very least favorite, and I don't know who ever eats this, but I would like to know you if you do order this, is haggis. Tripe, right? So what's the big deal about haggis? Do you know what haggis is? Oof. It's actually illegal. It was made illegal, I think, in 71 in the United States because it's a type of pudding composed of liver, heart, lungs of a sheep or any other animal. They just mix it all in there, minced in meat and oatmeal and seasoned with onion and cayenne pepper and other spices. And then it's packed into a sheep's stomach and then boiled. Yeah, for real. And by golly, it's illegal, but you can sure get it on Amazon.com. And it's not that expensive either. I'm not really sure what kind of a meal you would have with that, but yeah, it's there and it's available. So, and lastly, let's think about this. Who eats this stuff? Well, Yahoo.com has an article on how many people are willing to eat insects and other strange foods. And it turns out that 80% of Americans are willing to throw bugs down their throat. Who knew this? I did not think I was that part of that percentage, but alas, I did try one, so I guess I am. Insects are actually very high in protein. They're an excellent source of protein. Crickets contain 2 to 3 times more complete protein than a beefsteak on the same weight basis. Crickets also give you more iron, more vitamins, more fiber. In addition, a cricket steak represents a huge ecological advantage compared to a beef one. So that's a big plus too. So, you know, Amazon.com is a huge retail. It serves people around the globe. Anything and everything you could possibly want and need is available there. And I hope that you are, you know, open-minded now to try these new foods out there. I mean, really all you need is an open mind and a set of Rocky Mountain oysters. Bon appetit.